The flight from Okinawa to LAX took 13 hours. I spent most of it staring at the seat in front of me, not sleeping, not reading, just thinking about the email I'd received 3 days earlier. Short, clinical, the kind of message you send when you want plausible deniability later. House sold, proceeds allocated to family debt, your belongings in storage. Dad. No phone call, no explanation. Just that. The taxi from the airport smelled like synthetic pine and old cigarettes. The driver didn't talk, which suited me fine. I watched Los Angeles slide past the window, familiar and foreign at the same time. I'd been gone 18 months, long enough for storefronts to change, for construction projects to finish, for people to forget you existed. My phone buzzed. Jessica. Landing soon? Already did. On my way. I'm ready. 3 words. She always knew how to say exactly enough and nothing more. 17 years of marriage had taught us both the value of economy in communication. When I'd called her from Kadena Air Base after reading Dad's email, she'd listened to the whole thing without interrupting once. Then she'd said, "Come home. We'll handle it." We, not I, not you. We. The taxi turned onto Maple Street, and my stomach tightened. The neighborhood looked the same. Same trimmed lawns, same SUVs and driveways, same basketball hoop at the Hendersons' place with the net half torn. Everything normal. Everything fine. Except for the house at the end of the cul-de-sac. My house. The one I'd bought in 2019 with deployment money and a VA loan. The one with the oak tree in the front yard that I'd planted when my daughter was born. There were 3 people on the porch. My father stood on the left, arms crossed, wearing his usual weekend uniform of khakis and a polo shirt. He looked older than I remembered. Grayer. Or maybe I just hadn't been looking closely enough before I left. My brother Daniel stood in the center, leaning against the porch railing like he owned the place, which, according to that email, he now did. He was wearing expensive sunglasses, the kind that cost more than most people's car payments, designer jeans, a watch that caught the afternoon sun and threw it back in sharp little flashes. Daniel's wife Lauren stood beside him, phone in hand, scrolling through something. She looked up as the taxi pulled into the driveway, smiled. Not a friendly smile. The kind of smile you give someone when you're about to enjoy what happens next. I paid the driver, grabbed my duffel bag, and walked up the path I'd walked 1,000 times before. The concrete was cracked in the same places. The mailbox still tilted slightly to the left. Everything familiar. Everything mine. "Welcome home," Daniel said. He wasn't smiling anymore, just watching me with that expression he'd perfected over the years, the one that said he knew something I didn't, and he was going to enjoy telling me. I stopped at the bottom of the porch steps, looked at all 3 of them. "Anyone going to invite me inside?" Lauren laughed, actually laughed out loud. "Inside? Marcus, honey, you don't live here anymore." "That's right," Daniel said. He pushed off from the railing, stood up straight. "See, while you were off playing soldier in Japan, some of us were dealing with real problems, real responsibilities. I had some debts, business investments that didn't pan out. And Dad here," he gestured to our father like he was showing off a prize on a game show. "He decided to help me out. Isn't that right, Dad?" My father didn't look at me. He was studying something on the porch floor. "It was necessary." "Necessary," I repeated. The word tasted wrong in my mouth. "You weren't using it," Lauren said. She'd put her phone away now, giving me her full attention. "You've been gone over a year. No indication you were coming back. The place was just sitting empty, accumulating costs, property taxes, maintenance. It made sense to liquidate the asset." Liquidate the asset. I smiled. Couldn't help it. The corporate speak was so perfectly Lauren. She worked in marketing for some tech startup, the kind that burned through venture capital like kindling and called it disruption. "What's so funny?" Daniel's voice had an edge now. He didn't like being laughed at. Never had. I set my duffel bag down on the walkway. Looked up at my brother. My younger brother, 32 years old, who'd never held a job longer than 18 months, never finished college, never committed to anything except spending money he didn't have. "I just have one question," I said. "What?" Daniel crossed his arms, mirroring Dad's posture. "When exactly did you sell it? What was the closing date?" Something flickered across Daniel's face. Just for a second. Then it was gone, replaced by that same smug certainty. "Does it matter? It's done. It's legal. You can check the county records if you want." "I plan to." I picked up my bag. "I'll be going now." "Going where?" Lauren asked. "You're homeless now. Maybe you should have thought about that before abandoning your family for a year and a half." I looked at her. really looked at her. She was enjoying this. They all were. This wasn't just about money or debt or real estate. This was about humiliation, about proving something, about making sure I knew my place. "I'll figure something out," I said. I started walking back toward the street. "Marcus." Dad's voice stopped me. I turned. He was looking at me now, finally. "It's not personal. It's just family helping family." "Sure," I said. Family helping family. I called an Uber from the sidewalk. Stood there under the oak tree I'd planted 11 years ago, watching my family celebrate their victory on what used to be my porch. Daniel had his arm around Lauren. Dad had gone inside. Through the window, I could see him walking through my living room. The Uber arrived, a Honda Civic with a dent in the passenger door. The driver asked me where I was going. "The Comfort Inn on Pacific Boulevard," I said. "Rough day?" he asked, making conversation. "You could say that." He didn't push it. We drove in silence. I checked into the motel with a credit card, got a room on the second floor overlooking the parking lot. It smelled like cleaning chemicals and old carpet. The bedspread had a burn mark on one corner. The TV was bolted to the dresser. I sat on the bed and opened my laptop. The email from Dad was still there in my inbox, sitting above the usual military communications and spam. I read it again, slowly this time, paying attention to every word. "House sold. Proceeds allocated to family debt." Not your house, just house. Like it was always communal property. Like I'd never made the down payment, never signed the mortgage, never spent 3 years paying it off early with combat pay and bonuses. I opened a new browser tab and navigated to the Los Angeles County Registrar Recorder's website. Public records. Anyone could access them if they knew where to look. I typed in my address. 4782 Maple Street. The property record loaded. Recent sale. Closing date, March 15th. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through my emails until I found my deployment orders. Departure date, January 10th. Return date, June 20th. March 15th. I'd been gone exactly 64 days when they sold it. The property had been in my name, solely my name. Jessica was on the deed as a secondary holder, but I was the primary owner. Any sale would have required my signature, or a power of attorney, or some kind of legal authorization. I called Jessica. She answered on the first ring. "How bad was it?" "Bad enough. They were waiting for me, made a whole show of it." "Daniel's idea?" "Daniel's execution. Dad's permission, Lauren's enthusiasm." "Lovely." She was quiet for a moment. I could hear traffic in the background. She was driving. "Are you at the motel?" "Yeah, room 237. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't do anything until I get there." "Like what?" "Like anything that involves confronting your family or making phone calls or sending angry emails. Just sit, wait. We do this smart." She hung up. I closed the laptop and lay back on the bed, stared at the ceiling. There was a water stain in the shape of Texas. Or maybe it was a dog. Hard to tell. My phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. "Sorry about the house, bro. Nothing personal. Just business. D. Nothing personal. Just business." The same thing Dad had said. I deleted the message. 20 minutes later, someone knocked on the door. I looked through the peephole, saw Jessica standing there with a cardboard file box under one arm and 2 cups of coffee in a carrier. I opened the door. She came in, set the box on the small table by the window, handed me one of the coffees. "Black, 2 sugars." "Thanks." We stood there for a moment. She looked at me, really looked at me, the way she always did when I came back from deployment. Checking for damage, visible and otherwise. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah." Liar. I almost smiled. "I'm functional." "Better." She opened the cardboard box and pulled out a stack of folders. "I've been doing homework since you called last week. This is everything I could gather on short notice. Property records, financial statements, correspondence, some other things." "What other things?" "Things that might be useful later." She opened the first folder. "Let's start with the basics. The house sale. Did you sign anything authorizing it?" "No." "Did you give your father power of attorney?" "No." "Did you give anyone power of attorney?" "Just you, the limited POA we set up before I deployed, for emergencies and financial decisions if something happened to me." "Good." She pulled out another document. "This is the deed transfer record, filed March 15th, seller Marcus James Brennan, buyer Daniel Thomas Brennan, sale price $320,000. That's $50,000 under market value." "I know. I checked comparable sales in the neighborhood. Your house should have gone for at least $370, probably more. Someone wanted a quick sale." "Daniel doesn't have $320,000. No, Jessica agreed. He doesn't, but Dad does. Or did. She pulled out a bank statement. This is from your father's checking account. March 10th, 5 days before the sale closed, he withdrew $200,000 in cashier's checks. March 14th, another $120,000. How did you get his bank statements? I didn't. His accountant did. And then his accountant's assistant accidentally included them in an email to me about something completely unrelated. Accidentally. Accidents happen. She wasn't smiling, but her eyes had that particular gleam that meant she'd planned something very carefully and it had worked exactly as intended. The point is, your father funded the entire purchase. He bought the house from you, put it in Daniel's name, and now they both think they've accomplished something clever. They sold my house without my permission. They forged your signature on a deed transfer. That's fraud. That's a felony. We could have them arrested. But we're not going to. No, she said. We're not. Because there's something else you need to know first. She pulled out another document. This one was different. Older, yellowed at the edges, with a gold-embossed seal at the bottom. Remember when we bought the house? She asked. You put down 20%? $72,000. Do you remember where that money came from? Deployment savings, combat pay, re-enlistment bonus. Some of it, not all of it. She handed me the document. The rest came from your grandmother. She died in 2018, left you $100,000. You used $72,000 for the down payment, kept the rest in savings. I looked at the document. It was a trust distribution statement. My grandmother's name at the top. My name as beneficiary. The date, June 2018. I remember, I said. What's the relevance? The trust had conditions. Your grandmother wanted to make sure the money stayed in the family, in your branch of the family, so she included a clause. Jessica pointed to a paragraph near the bottom of the page. If the property purchased with trust funds is sold, transferred, or otherwise alienated within 15 years of purchase without the written consent of the surviving spouse, that's me, the trust distribution is reclaimed and the buyer is liable for the full amount plus interest. I read the paragraph. Read it again. They didn't know, I said. They didn't check. Why would they? It's an obscure clause in a trust document from 6 years ago. They saw the deed was in your name, assumed they could forge a signature, rush through a quick sale, and never bothered to do a title search thorough enough to catch the encumbrance. How much are they liable for? She pulled out a calculator, typed in some numbers. $72,000 principal. 6 years of interest at 5% compounded annually. Comes to approximately $96,000. Plus legal fees. Plus penalties for fraudulent transfer. We're looking at probably $120, maybe $130 total. And Daniel doesn't have it. Daniel has $1,200 in his checking account, a negative balance on 3 credit cards, and a car payment he's 2 months behind on. He was counting on this house sale to bail him out. She paused. In fact, I'd say he was desperate for it. I thought about Daniel on the porch, the expensive sunglasses, the designer watch, the confidence, the certainty. They think they won, I said. They think they won, Jessica confirmed. And we're going to let them keep thinking that for a while. Because there's more. More? She pulled out another folder. This one was thick, stuffed with papers. I've been tracking Daniel's spending for the last 2 years. Credit card statements, loan applications, social media posts. He's been living way beyond his means. That business venture he mentioned? It was a sports betting syndicate. He was convinced he had a system. He lost $40,000 in 3 months. Jesus. Lauren didn't know. Or she knew but didn't care, because she was spending just as much on her own lifestyle. Clothes, travel, restaurants. They've been maintaining appearances while drowning in debt. When that started to collapse, Daniel went to your father, convinced him you'd abandoned the family, that you didn't care about the house, that selling it was the only way to save everyone. And Dad believed him. Your father believes what he wants to believe. He's believed Daniel his whole life. She closed the folder. But here's the thing. Daniel told Dad he was selling the house to pay off business debts, legitimate debts. He didn't mention the gambling. He didn't mention the credit cards. He definitely didn't mention that he owes money to some very unpleasant people. I looked up. What people? The kind who don't accept excuses. The kind who expect payment on time, every time. Daniel borrowed money from them to cover his sports betting losses. $35,000? It's due in full on July 1st. That's 12 days from now. How do you know all this? I know people who know people, and some of those people talk when properly motivated. She leaned back in her chair. Daniel is in a hole he can't climb out of. He sold your house to get $320 from Dad. He probably told those creditors he'd have the money soon. Now he's sitting in your living room thinking he solved all his problems. But he hasn't. He hasn't. Because when we invoke the trust clause, that 130,000 disappears, and Dad's going to want his money back, and those other creditors are going to want their money too, and Daniel's going to have nowhere left to turn. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the parking lot. A couple was loading suitcases into a minivan. Kids running around, normal people doing normal things. They humiliated me, I said quietly. Yes. They took my house, forged my signature, stood on my porch and mocked me. Yes. They thought I'd just accept it, take the loss, move on. Yes. I turned around. Jessica was watching me with those steady gray eyes that had seen me through firefights and funerals and every kind of hell in between. So what's the plan? I asked. She smiled. Not a big smile, just the smallest curve at the corners of her mouth. We let them think they won. We stay quiet. We file the trust enforcement paperwork with the court, but we don't tell them. We let them spend money they don't have. We let them make commitments they can't keep. We let them dig the hole deeper. And then? And then we pull the floor out from under them, all at once. No warning, no mercy. I thought about Daniel's face when I'd asked him about the closing date, that flicker of uncertainty, that moment of doubt before the smugness returned. He knew something was wrong. He just didn't know what yet. How long? I asked. 2 weeks, maybe 3, long enough for the legal machinery to move, for Daniel's creditors to start asking questions, for the pressure to build. Then we spring it. And Dad? Your father made his choice. He chose Daniel over you. He facilitated fraud against his own son. Whatever happens to him is a consequence of his own actions. She stood up, started putting the folders back in the box. I need you to promise me something. What? No contact with them, no confrontations, no phone calls, no texts, no driving by the house at 3 a.m. We do this cold and legal and perfect. Can you do that? I thought about it, really thought about it. The anger was there, bright and hot, sitting in my chest like a coal. It would be easy to feed it, to let it grow, to act on it. But I'd spent 18 months in Okinawa working with people who knew how to think long term, how to wait, how to plan, how to strike precisely when the moment was right. I can do that, I said. Good. She picked up the box. I'm staying at my sister's place in Pasadena. You know the address. Call me twice a day, morning and night. If something happens, if Daniel or your father tries to contact you, you tell me immediately. We handle everything together. Understood? Understood. She walked to the door, then stopped, turned back. Marcus? Yep? They're going to regret this. I promise you that. She left. I sat back down on the bed, picked up the coffee she'd brought me. It was lukewarm now, but I drank it anyway. My phone buzzed. Another text from Daniel. Hey man, no hard feelings, right? We should get together soon. Catch up? I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back. Sure, sounds good. I turned off the phone and closed my eyes. The waiting had begun. Before we go any further, hit the hype button, take a second to subscribe and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? 3 days passed in the motel room. I fell into a routine that felt familiar from deployment. Wake at 0600, coffee and push-ups, laptop work, more coffee, gym if I felt like it, laptop work, sleep. Jessica called every morning at 8 and every evening at 7. The calls were short, factual, progress reports. On day 2, she informed me that the trust enforcement paperwork had been filed with the Superior Court. It would take another week to process, maybe longer depending on the court's workload. In the meantime, a notice had been sent to the title company that handled the house sale. They would be legally required to freeze any attempts to refinance or further transfer the property. Has anyone contacted them? I asked. Not yet, but they will. Daniel's going to need cash flow. The house is his only asset with any real value. He'll try to tap into it. And when he does, he'll find out the property is encumbered. Then he'll start asking questions. Then things get interesting. On day 3, she told me she'd received a phone call from my father. What did he want? I was sitting at the small table by the window, watching rain hit the parking lot. He wanted to know if I knew where you were staying. I told him I hadn't heard from you since you landed. He didn't believe me, but he didn't push it. Did he say anything about the house? Not directly. He mentioned that Daniel was settling into his new place, making it his own. I didn't respond. How did he sound? She was quiet for a moment. Defensive, like he was trying to convince himself he'd done the right thing. He kept saying it was just business, that you'd understand eventually, that family helps family. Family helps family, I repeated. It's his mantra. He's clinging to it. After she hung up, I opened my laptop and started researching. Not the house sale. Jessica had that covered. Something else. Something that had been bothering me since the confrontation on the porch. Daniel's watch. I'd noticed it immediately, a Rolex Submariner, distinctive green face, probably $40,000 retail. I'd seen enough of them on officers and contractors to recognize one. But Daniel didn't have $40,000 for a watch. He didn't have $40,000 for anything. I spent 2 hours digging through his social media. Instagram was a goldmine. Pictures of the watch appeared starting in February. 3 months ago, 1 month before the house sale. In every photo, he made sure it was visible. Wrist casually positioned near his face, hand draped over a steering wheel, pose next to his coffee cup at expensive cafes. The comments were predictably adulatory. Nice piece, bro. Living the life. Goals. Lauren's account was worse. Daily posts documenting their lifestyle. Expensive restaurants, weekend trips to San Diego and Santa Barbara, designer shopping bags, cocktails with sunset backgrounds. Everything carefully curated to project success. Everything designed to make people envious. I clicked through to her tagged photos. Found one from a friend's birthday party in April. Lauren was in the background talking to another woman, laughing, and in her hand, visible for just a second before she moved, was what looked like a Cartier bracelet. Rose gold, diamond accents. Retail price probably $15,000. I screenshotted everything, organized it into a folder, time-stamped. The more I dug, the more I found. Daniel at a Lakers game in March. Courtside seats, $1,200 per ticket. Lauren at a spa in Newport Beach. Their couple's retreat package started at $4,000. A new BMW in the driveway of my house, with Daniel posing beside it in April, keys in hand. It was all there. A documented record of spending that didn't match his income. That couldn't match his income because, as far as I could tell, Daniel hadn't held a steady job in 8 months. His LinkedIn said he was an independent business consultant, which was code for unemployed and looking. I sent everything to Jessica with a simple message. Thought you might find this interesting. She called back within an hour. Where did you get all this? Public social media. They're not exactly trying to hide it. No, they're not. They're advertising it. I could hear her typing. This is perfect. This shows pattern of behavior, shows motive, shows they had incentive to commit fraud because they were drowning in lifestyle debt. Can we use it in court? We won't need to, but we can use it for leverage, when the time comes. When is the time coming? Soon. The trust enforcement hearing is scheduled for June 30th. That's 9 days from now. It's a formality. The trust language is ironclad. The court will rule in our favor. But here's the interesting part. Daniel's debt payment is due on July 1st, the day after our hearing. That's not a coincidence. No, it's not. Daniel timed the house sale to close exactly 3 months before his payment was due. He thought he'd have plenty of time to get the money, pay off his debts, and still have cash left over to maintain his lifestyle. But he won't. He won't. Because by July 1st, he's going to owe your father $130,000, plus he'll still owe his other creditors $35,000, plus he'll have no house and no assets and no way to get the money. I could see it playing out. Could see the walls closing in on Daniel day by day, hour by hour. He's going to panic, I said. He's going to do more than panic. He's going to get desperate, and desperate people make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? The kind we can use. She paused. How do you feel about a field trip tomorrow? What kind of field trip? The kind where we observe the enemy in their natural habitat. Daniel's meeting someone tomorrow afternoon at a coffee shop in Manhattan Beach. Someone connected to the money he owes. I think we should be there. How do you know this? Like I said, I know people who know people. The next day was Thursday. I met Jessica at a Starbucks 3 blocks from the motel at noon. She was driving a rental car, a gray Camry that blended into traffic perfectly. Inconspicuous, I said, getting in. That's the idea. We're not there to confront anyone. We're there to watch and listen and learn. We drove to Manhattan Beach in silence. The coffee shop was called Brew Culture, one of those deliberately minimalist places with exposed brick and single-origin beans and prices that would make you weep. It sat on a corner lot with floor-to-ceiling windows facing the street. Jessica parked across the street, 2 cars down, with a clear view of the entrance. He's meeting a guy named Vic Torres, she said. Mid-40s, works in private lending. And by private lending, I mean loan sharking with better PR. Is he dangerous? Define dangerous. He's not going to shoot you in the parking lot, but he will make your life extremely unpleasant if you don't pay what you owe. He's got lawyers, connections, ways of applying pressure that stay just barely inside the law. And Daniel borrowed from him. Borrowed $35,000 in January. Promised to pay it back in 6 months with 20% interest. That puts the total at $42,000. Jesus Christ. Torres has patience, but only to a point. If you don't pay on time, the interest compounds weekly. After a month, you're underwater. After 2 months, you're drowning. Daniel's banking on the house money to clear the debt before that happens. At 2:47, a black Mercedes pulled up in front of Brew Culture. A man got out. Dark suit, expensive haircut, gold watch. He looked around the street, scanning faces, checking surroundings. Professional, careful. "That's Torres," Jessica said. He went inside. My father drove like a man possessed, running yellow lights, weaving through traffic, checking his phone every 30 seconds for messages that weren't coming. I sat in the passenger seat, watching the city wake up around us, wondering what we'd find when we caught up to Daniel. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Lauren's parents' house, in Santa Monica. He might have gone there." "Does Lauren know he's missing?" "She's at a work conference in San Diego until tomorrow. I didn't want to worry her until I knew something concrete." We drove in tense silence. The morning was cold, the marine layer thick and oppressive. Traffic was building toward rush hour. Every red light felt like an hour. My father's phone rang. He answered it hands-free. "Daniel?" "No, it's me." My mother's voice. They'd been divorced for 8 years, but apparently crisis brought people together. "I just got your message. Did you find him?" "Not yet. I'm with Marcus. We're checking Lauren's parents' place." "Marcus is helping?" Surprise in her voice. "I thought you two weren't speaking." "We're not, but this is different." "Different how?" "Mom, I don't have time to explain. I'll call you back when I know something." He hung up before she could respond. "Does Mom know about the house sale?" I asked. "She knows. She thinks I'm an idiot. She's probably right." We pulled up to a modest Spanish-style bungalow in Santa Monica. Palm trees in front, bougainvillea climbing the walls. My father parked in the street and we walked up to the door together. He knocked, no answer, knocked again. Finally a light came on inside. The door opened to reveal an older man in a bathrobe, gray hair sticking up, squinting at us. "Frank?" The man, Lauren's father, presumably, looked confused. "What are you doing here? It's 7 a.m. "Is Daniel here? Did he come by?" "Daniel? No. Why would Daniel be here at 7 a.m.? He's missing. He left the house hours ago, and he's not answering his phone, and I thought maybe—" "He's not here." Lauren's father looked at me. "Who's this?" "My other son, Marcus." "The one Daniel sold the house to himself from?" The man's tone was cold. "Lauren told me about that. Sounds like a mess." "It is a mess. And now Daniel's missing, and I'm worried he might do something rash." "Rash how?" My father didn't answer, just stood there looking lost. Lauren's father sighed. "Look, Frank, I don't know where Daniel is, but if I were you, I'd check his usual haunts. The casino he likes, that sports bar on Wilshire, wherever he goes when he's stressed. I already tried those. He's not there. Then maybe he doesn't want to be found." The older man started to close the door. "I'm sorry, Frank. I hope you find him, but I can't help you." The door closed. We stood on the porch for a moment. My father looked like he might cry. "Where else?" I asked. "I don't know. I've called everyone I can think of. I've driven past every place he might be. I'm out of ideas." "What about his phone? Can you track it?" "I tried. The location services aren't working." I thought about it. About where a desperate man might go when his world was collapsing. About what Daniel might be thinking, feeling, planning. "The house?" I said. "My house. He might have gone there." "Why would he go there?" "Because it's the center of everything. The thing he thought he'd won. The thing he lost. If he's having some kind of breakdown, that's where he'd go." My father looked at me. "You think he's having a breakdown?" "I think he's facing consequences for the first time in his life, and he doesn't know how to handle it. And when people like Daniel don't know how to handle things, they do unpredictable stuff." We drove to Maple Street. The neighborhood was quiet, people just starting to leave for work. A few garage doors open, a dog barking somewhere, normal suburban morning. Daniel's BMW was parked in the driveway. Crooked, half on the lawn, like he'd pulled in too fast and didn't care where he landed. We parked on the street and approached carefully. The front door was open, not just unlocked, open, hanging on its hinges. "Daniel," my father called out. "Are you in there?" No answer. We went inside. The house was a disaster. Furniture overturned, pictures pulled off walls, books scattered across the floor. In the kitchen, every cabinet was open, contents spilled onto the counters. In the living room, the TV was on the floor, screen cracked. "Jesus Christ," my father whispered. We found Daniel in the master bedroom, my bedroom, the one I'd slept in for 6 years before deployment. He was sitting on the floor with his back against the wall, holding something in his hands. As we got closer, I saw it was a photograph. The frame was broken, glass scattered around him. It was a picture of us, me and Daniel. We were kids, maybe 8 and 10 years old. Summer vacation at the lake. Both of us smiling, arms around each other's shoulders. Brothers. "Daniel." My father's voice was gentle. "What are you doing?" Daniel looked up. He'd been crying. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything. About Torres, about the money, about the court, about Marcus's face when the judge ruled. He laughed, but it was a broken sound. "So I came here. To the house I thought was mine. It's okay. We'll figure this out." "How?" Daniel's voice rose. "How are we going to figure this out? I owe Torres $42,000 by today. I owe Marcus $140,000 over time. I have no job, no car, no assets. Lauren's going to leave me when she finds out how bad it is. And I destroyed all of this." He gestured around the room because I was angry and stupid and desperate. "Why did you trash the house?" I asked. He looked at me. Really looked at me. "Because if I can't have it, nobody can. Because I'm tired of losing. Because I wanted to destroy something for once instead of just being destroyed." "That's not going to solve anything." "I know, but it felt good for about 5 minutes. He let the photograph fall. "You won, Marcus. Congratulations. You got your revenge. You proved your point. I'm ruined. Are you happy now?" I looked around the room, at the destruction, at the broken man sitting on the floor, at my father hovering nervously by the door. "No," I said, "I'm not happy." "Then what was the point?" "The point was consequences. The point was showing you that actions have reactions. The point was making you understand that you can't just take whatever you want and expect no pushback." "Well, I understand now. I understand perfectly." Daniel stood up, swaying slightly. "I understand that I'm worthless. That I've always been worthless. That everyone in my life would be better off if I just disappeared." "Don't talk like that," my father said. "Why not? It's true. Name one person whose life I've improved, one person who's better off knowing me." Nobody answered. Daniel laughed again. "See? You can't. Because I'm a parasite. I take and take and take, and I give nothing back. Torres was right to loan me money. I'm a perfect mark. Desperate, stupid, convinced my luck's about to change." "Where is Torres now?" I asked. "I don't know. Probably planning what he's going to do when I don't pay him today. Probably deciding which bones to break first." "He's not going to break your bones. This isn't a movie." "You don't know him. You don't know the kind of people he works with." My phone buzzed. Text from Jessica. "Where are you?" I replied. "At the house. Found Daniel. He trashed the place." Her response came immediately. "Get him to talk about Torres. Record it if you can. We might need it." I looked at Daniel. He'd sat back down, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. "Tell me about Torres," I said. "How did you meet him?" "Friend of a friend. I was in debt. Needed money fast. Banks wouldn't touch me. Someone said Torres could help. I thought it was just a loan. Didn't realize I was dealing with..." "With what?" "With someone who makes real loans. The kind that can't be discharged in bankruptcy. The kind that follow you forever." "What exactly did he threaten?" "He didn't threaten. He informed. Very polite. Very professional. He said if I didn't pay by July 1st, he'd begin collection procedures. When I asked what that meant, he said it varied by situation, sometimes legal, sometimes less legal, depended on the client's resources and cooperation level." "That's extortion." "That's business. His business." Daniel looked up. "But here's the thing. I don't care anymore. Let him come. Let him do whatever he's going to do. I'm done running. I'm done pretending. I'm done with all of it." "You're giving up?" "I'm being realistic. This is over. I lost. Game over." My father knelt down beside Daniel. "Son, listen to me. You're not alone. We'll figure this out together. Family helps?" "Don't." Daniel's voice was sharp. "Don't say that. Family helps family. I know. You've been saying it my whole life. But look where it got us. You enabled me. You made excuses for me. You sold Marcus's house for me. And what did I learn? Nothing. I learned I could do whatever I wanted and Daddy would bail me out. I was trying to help. You were trying to avoid discomfort. There's a difference. Daniel stood up again, brushed glass off his jeans. I need to face Torres alone. I need to tell him I can't pay. I need to accept whatever happens next. We'll go with you, I said. He looked at me, surprised. Why would you do that? Because despite everything, you're still my brother, and watching you get hurt isn't going to make me feel better about anything. You don't owe me protection. No, I don't, but I owe myself the peace of mind that comes from knowing I didn't stand by while you walked into a disaster. Daniel studied my face, looking for sarcasm or mockery or some hidden angle. Found none. Okay, he said quietly. Okay. We cleaned up what we could, called a locksmith to fix the front door, made a list of everything that was broken for insurance purposes. It took 2 hours. At 11 a.m., Daniel called Torres and asked for a meeting. Torres suggested the same coffee shop in Manhattan Beach. 1 p.m. We had 2 hours. My father wanted to come. I told him no. This is between Daniel, Torres, and me. You being there will just complicate things. I'm his father. And you've been his father for 32 years. Look how that worked out. Let me try something different. He didn't argue, just looked sad and old and defeated. Jessica met us at the motel at noon. I briefed her on everything, the trashed house, Daniel's breakdown, the upcoming meeting with Torres. I don't like this, she said. Torres is a professional criminal. You're walking into his territory. Anything could happen. I know, but Daniel's not stable enough to go alone, and if I don't go, something worse might happen. What could be worse? Daniel deciding he has nothing left to lose and doing something stupid, violent, fatal. She looked at Daniel, who was sitting on the bed staring at his hands. Is that a real concern? I don't know, but I'm not taking chances. She pulled me aside, lowered her voice. If this goes bad, if Torres threatens you, tries to intimidate you, tries anything, you walk away. You don't engage. You don't negotiate. You call the police. Understood? Understood. And keep your phone on. Recording if possible. Anything Torres says might be useful later. We drove to Manhattan Beach in my rental car. Daniel sat in the passenger seat, silent, staring out the window. The marine layer had finally lifted. The sky was blue. The ocean was visible in the distance, sparkling in afternoon sun. Beautiful day for a confrontation with a loan shark. We parked across from Brew Culture at 12:55. Torres's Mercedes was already there. Last chance to back out, I said to Daniel. No backing out. Let's do this. We crossed the street and went inside. Torres was sitting at the same table as before, same dark suit, same gold watch. He looked up when we entered, expression neutral. Marcus Brennan, he said. I didn't expect to see you here. Change of plans. I'm representing my brother's interests. His interests? Torres smiled slightly. Does he still have any of those? He has a proposal. I'm listening. We sat down. Daniel looked like he might throw up. Torres folded his hands on the table. So, it's July 1st minus 1 day. Your payment is due tomorrow. $42,000. Do you have it? No, Daniel said. Do you have any of it? No. Do you have any realistic plan to get it? No. Torres nodded slowly. I appreciate the honesty. It's refreshing. Most people in your position lie. They promise they'll have it soon. They buy time with false hope. He leaned back. But you're smart enough to know that won't work with me. I'm here to discuss alternatives, I said. Alternatives? Torres looked at me. What kind of alternatives? Payment plan, extended terms, reduced interest, something Daniel can actually afford instead of something impossible. Why would I agree to that? Because the alternative is Daniel declaring bankruptcy. Then you get nothing. Or he disappears and you spend time and money tracking him down. Or worse, something happens to him and you're implicated. Torres's expression didn't change. Are you threatening me, Mr. Brennan? I'm stating facts. You're a businessman. You want your money. Daniel can't pay $42,000 tomorrow, but he might be able to pay it over time if the terms are reasonable. Define reasonable. $5,000 down, the rest in monthly payments over 18 months. No additional interest. Torres laughed. You're joking. I'm negotiating. You're insulting me. I loaned your brother $35,000 at 20% interest because he was high risk. That's the market rate for high-risk borrowers. Now you want me to accept $5,000 down and zero interest? Well, why would I do that? Because it's better than nothing. Nothing is what I get if I agree to your terms. Nothing is what I get if your brother declares bankruptcy. So from my perspective, there's no difference. He stood up. Here's what's going to happen. Daniel owes me $42,000. That's due tomorrow. If he doesn't pay, I begin collection procedures. Those procedures are unpleasant. They involve professional collection agencies, legal actions, and various forms of pressure that, while not illegal, are certainly uncomfortable. No, but I can make the stone very sorry it's a stone. Torres looked at Daniel. You borrowed money from me in good faith. I extended that loan in good faith. Now I expect payment in good faith. If you can't pay, that's your problem, not mine. Figure it out. He walked out. Daniel put his head in his hands. That went well. It went exactly how I expected. He's posturing, trying to scare you into finding money somehow. It's working. I'm scared. Good. Use that fear. Channel it into productivity. Find a job, start making money, begin paying him back even if it's just a little at a time. He's not going to accept that. He might, once he realizes the alternative is getting nothing. I stood up. Come on, let's go. We walked out into bright sunshine. The contrast was jarring, the tense darkness of the coffee shop versus the cheerful brightness outside. As we crossed the street to my car, a voice called out. Marcus! I turned. Lauren was standing by a white Lexus, still wearing a business suit, looking like she'd just arrived from her conference. I've been calling Daniel all day, she said, walking toward us. He wasn't answering, so I checked the Find My Phone app and saw he was here. What's going on? Daniel met with Torres, I said. Torres? Her face went pale. Why? The payment's not due until tomorrow. He wanted to negotiate. It didn't work. She looked at Daniel, really looked at him, saw the exhaustion, the defeat, the breakdown. Oh, God, she whispered. What did you do? I trashed the house, Daniel said. Marcus's house. I destroyed it. Why would you do that? Because I'm an idiot. Because I'm self-destructive. Because I couldn't handle the pressure. He looked at her. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. For the debt, for the lies, for dragging you into this mess. Lauren's expression went through several changes. Shock, anger, sadness, resignation. When she finally spoke, her voice was quiet. I'm leaving you. I know. I'm going to file for divorce, probably next week. I understand. I can't be married to someone who self-destructs every time things get hard. I can't build a life with someone who makes decisions like this. I know. She turned to me. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't help. I know it doesn't fix anything. But I'm sorry for my part in this, for laughing at you on the porch, for encouraging Daniel, for being part of the problem. Okay, I said. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say? That I forgive you? That everything's fine? It's not fine. It won't be fine for a long time. But you acknowledging it is a start? She nodded. Got back in her Lexus, drove away. Daniel watched her go. Well, that's that. Yeah, I really am alone now. You're not alone. You're broke, in debt, and divorced. But you're not alone. Dad still cares. Mom probably cares. Even I care, despite everything. Why do you care? Because you're my brother, and because someone needs to care, or you're going to spiral completely. We drove back to the motel. I helped Daniel check into a room, his own room, 2 doors down from mine. He didn't have much, a duffel bag of clothes, his phone and charger. That was it. What now? He asked, standing in the doorway of his room. Now you rest. Tomorrow you start figuring out your next move, job hunting, financial planning, therapy probably. Therapy. You've had a breakdown. You destroyed a house. You're on the edge of something bad. You need professional help. I can't afford therapy. There are sliding scale clinics, free resources. We'll find something. He looked at me with something approaching gratitude. Why are you helping me? Because despite everything, I still remember that picture you were holding this morning. The one of us at the lake. We were brothers then. Maybe we can be brothers again someday. I don't deserve that. No, you don't. But I'm offering it anyway. I closed his door and went back to my own room. Jessica called at 7. How did it go with Torres? About as expected. He wasn't interested in negotiating. Daniel's payment is still due tomorrow. And if Daniel doesn't pay? Then Torres starts collection procedures, whatever that means. It means harassment. It means pressure. It means making Daniel's life miserable until he finds the money somehow. She paused. We should document everything. Every interaction with Torres. Every threat, implied or explicit. If he crosses any legal lines, we can use that. You think he will? I think guys like Torres know exactly where the lines are and how to dance right up to them without crossing. But sometimes they slip, and when they do, we'll be ready. I slept poorly that night. Kept waking up at odd hours, thinking about Daniel in the room 2 doors down, wondering if he was sleeping, wondering if he was planning something, wondering if I should check on him. At 3 a.m., I finally gave up on sleep and went for a walk. The motel parking lot was empty except for a few cars. The street was quiet. Somewhere a dog was barking. I walked to the end of the block and back. Just moving. Just breathing. Just trying to clear my head. When I got back to my room, Daniel was sitting on the walkway outside his door, smoking a cigarette. "I didn't know you smoked," I said. "I don't, usually, but I found this pack in my car and figured tonight was a good night to start." I sat down beside him. "Can't sleep?" "Every time I close my eyes, I see Torres's face, or Lauren's face, or your face in the courtroom." He took a drag, coughed. "I keep replaying everything, trying to figure out where it all went wrong." "It went wrong when you decided to sell my house without asking me." "No, it went wrong before that. Years before that. I've been making bad decisions my whole life. This was just the culmination." "So what are you going to do differently?" He thought about it. "I don't know yet. But something has to change. I can't keep being this person. This lying, stealing, gambling, self-destructive person. Then don't be that person. Choose different." "Is it really that simple?" "No. But it starts that simple. You decide to be better. Then you do the work to make that decision real." He stubbed out the cigarette. "Thanks for not giving up on me. Ask me again in a year. See if I'm still not giving up." He smiled slightly. "Fair enough." We sat there in silence until the sun started to rise. July 1st arrived with bright sunshine and clear skies. The marine layer was gone, replaced by genuine summer warmth. It felt wrong somehow, like the weather should match the tension, the dread, the knowledge that consequences were coming due. Daniel's phone started ringing at 8 a.m. He didn't answer. It rang again at 8:15, again at 8:30. By 9, he'd received 7 calls and 4 text messages, all from Torres's number. "You going to respond?" I asked. We were sitting outside his room, drinking coffee from the motel's lobby. "What's the point? I don't have his money. Nothing I say is going to change that." "Not responding might make things worse." "How could things be worse?" At 9:47, a black Mercedes pulled into the motel parking lot. Torres got out, along with another man, bigger, broader, with the look of someone who'd been hired specifically for intimidation purposes. They walked directly to Daniel's room. Torres knocked. "Mr. Brennan, I know you're in there. We need to talk." Daniel looked at me. I shook my head slightly, mouthed the word "don't." Torres knocked again. "We can do this easy or hard. Your choice." I stood up, walked over. "He doesn't have your money." Torres looked at me. "Mr. Brennan, the other Mr. Brennan. This doesn't concern you." "My brother concerns me, and you're harassing him at a motel. That feels like it concerns me." "I'm not harassing anyone. I'm attempting to collect a legitimate debt." "You're attempting to intimidate someone who's already told you he can't pay." "Then he should have thought about that before borrowing $35,000. Torres gestured to his companion. "This is Mr. Reeves. He specializes in asset recovery and debt collection. We're here to discuss Daniel's options." "His options are bankruptcy, payment plan, or nothing. You already rejected the payment plan, so that leaves bankruptcy or nothing." "There are other options. Options we'd prefer to discuss privately with Daniel." "Not happening. Anything you say to him, you say to me." Torres studied me for a long moment. "You're protective of him. Interesting. I was under the impression you two weren't on good terms." "We're not, but he's still family." "Family." Torres smiled slightly. That word keeps coming up in this situation. Family helps family. Family protects family. Family enables family to make terrible decisions and then bails them out. What's your point? My point is that family loyalty is admirable until it becomes destructive. Your brother made a choice to borrow money he couldn't repay. That choice has consequences. Shielding him from those consequences doesn't help him, it just delays the inevitable. So what do you want? I want my money. Failing that, I want compensation. Assets, collateral, something of value that can be converted to cash. Daniel doesn't have assets. Then he needs to find some, quickly. Torres pulled out his phone, showed me a document on the screen. This is the loan agreement Daniel signed. It includes a clause about collateral seizure in case of non-payment. Specifically, it allows me to claim any assets of equivalent or greater value to settle the debt. That's not legal. It's absolutely legal. It's a standard clause in private lending contracts. Daniel signed it. He knew the terms. Daniel didn't know anything. He was desperate, and you took advantage. I provided a service to someone who needed it. The terms were clear. The consequences were spelled out. If he didn't understand what he was signing, that's unfortunate, but not my problem. He put the phone away. Here's what's going to happen. Daniel has 72 hours to produce either cash payment or equivalent assets. If he fails to do so, Mr. Reeves and I will begin formal collection procedures. Those procedures are unpleasant. They involve legal action, reputation damage, and various forms of pressure that will make Daniel wish he'd paid on time. You're threatening him. I'm informing him of natural consequences. Torres turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mr. Brennan, the Protective Brother Act is touching. But you can't save him from himself. Nobody can. He made these choices. He lives with the results. They got back in the Mercedes and drove away. Daniel came out of his room. What did he say? Nothing good. 72 hours to pay or face collection procedures. 72 hours. Daniel laughed bitterly. What am I supposed to do in 72 hours? Rob a bank? No, you're going to call a bankruptcy attorney. Today, right now, we're going to explore every legal option available. Bankruptcy won't discharge private loans. It might not discharge them, but it'll complicate Torres's collection efforts, make it harder for him to seize assets or harass you. Buy time. Time for what? Time to figure out something better than letting Torres destroy you. I called Jessica. She answered immediately. Torres just visited. Gave Daniel 72 hours to pay. Claims he has the right to seize assets under the loan agreement. Does he? I don't know. Daniel signed something, but whether it's actually enforceable is questionable. Send me a picture of the agreement if you can get one. I'll have our attorney review it. Daniel probably doesn't have a copy. Then we'll request one. Torres has to provide documentation if challenged. In the meantime, Daniel needs legal representation. I know someone who specializes in predatory lending cases. I'll set up a consultation. When? This afternoon, if possible. Where are you? Motel. Same place. Stay there. Don't go anywhere. Don't talk to Torres or anyone associated with him. I'll call you back in an hour. She hung up. Daniel was pacing in front of his room. This is insane. This is completely insane. How did my life become this? One bad decision at a time. But we're going to start fixing it. One good decision at a time? You sound like a motivational poster. I sound like someone who's seen enough people destroy themselves to know the pattern. You're at the bottom right now. The only direction left is up. Or further down. There is no further down. This is it. Broke, divorced, in debt to a loan shark, living in a motel. You've hit the floor. Now you push back. He stopped pacing. Why are you doing this? Why are you helping me after everything? Because someone has to, and because I meant what I said. You're still my brother. I'm still angry about the house. I'm still hurt about the betrayal, but I'm not going to stand by and watch you get destroyed by someone like Torres. Even though I deserve it? Nobody deserves to be preyed on by loan sharks. Not even people who make terrible decisions. Jessica called back at 11. Consultation set up for 2 p.m. Attorney's name is Richard Lopez. He's in Century City. I'll text you the address. What should Daniel bring? Every document related to the Torres loan. Bank statements, communication records, anything that might be relevant. He probably doesn't have most of that. Then he brings what he has. We'll subpoena the rest if needed. At 1:30, we drove to Century City. The law office was in a high-rise with a view of the entire city. Richard Lopez was in his 50s, gray-haired, sharp-eyed, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than Daniel had made in the last 6 months. He listened to Daniel's story without interrupting, asked questions, made notes, reviewed the loan documents Daniel had managed to find on his phone. Finally, he leaned back in his chair. This is predatory lending. Clear case of it. The interest rate is unconscionable. The collateral seizure clause is likely unenforceable. The overall terms violate California's lending statutes in at least 3 ways I can identify immediately. So, what can we do? Daniel asked. We can file a complaint with the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. We can sue Torres for violating lending laws. We can potentially get the loan invalidated entirely. How long would that take? Months, maybe a year. These things move slowly. Torres gave me 72 hours. Torres doesn't dictate the timeline. The law does. If he attempts to seize assets or harass you, we file for an injunction. We make it very expensive and very complicated for him to collect. But I still owe the money. You owe something. Whether it's the full amount Torres is claiming is debatable. Once we challenge the loan's validity, we can negotiate from a position of strength rather than weakness. What will this cost? Lopez named a figure. Daniel's face fell. I don't have that kind of money. I know, which is why I'm prepared to take this on contingency. If we win, and I think we will, my fees come out of any damages we recover from Torres. Plus, there's a good chance we can sue for predatory lending practices and get you awarded attorney's fees. So it costs me nothing up front? Nothing except time and patience, and a commitment to follow through with the case even when it gets difficult. Daniel looked at me. I nodded. Okay, Daniel said. Let's do it. We spent the next 2 hours going through everything, signing retainer agreements, providing documentation, discussing strategy. By the time we left, it was almost 5 p.m. How do you feel? I asked Daniel as we walked to the car. Lighter, like maybe there's a way out of this that doesn't involve me getting destroyed. That's the idea. My phone buzzed. Text from Torres. Time's ticking. 48 hours left. I showed it to Daniel. He's trying to scare you, I said. Don't respond. Let Lopez handle all communication from here on out. We drove back to the motel. Jessica called while we were en route. How did it go with Lopez? Good. He's taking the case on contingency. Thinks the loan is predatory and unenforceable. Excellent. That gives us leverage. Now we need to think about the other issue. What other issue? Your father. He's been calling me nonstop. Wants to know how he can help. Wants to know if there's anything he can do to fix the situation. Tell him there isn't. I did. He didn't accept that answer. She paused. He's talking about selling his house, using the equity to pay off Daniel's debts. No, absolutely not. That's what I said. But he's not listening. He sees this as his fault, which it partially is, and he wants to fix it the only way he knows how, by throwing money at the problem. If he sells his house to pay Daniel's debts, he'll have nowhere to live. He'll be broke. And it won't fix anything because Daniel will just create new debts. I know that. You know that. But your father doesn't know that. Or he knows it intellectually but doesn't accept it emotionally. I'll talk to him. Good luck. He's very determined. I called my father. He answered immediately. Marcus, did Jessica tell you about my plan? She did, and it's a terrible idea. I have equity in my house. Almost $200,000. I can use that to pay off Daniel's debts, clear the Torres loan, settle the trust enforcement judgment. Everyone wins. No, nobody wins. You lose your house. You lose your financial security. And Daniel learns nothing except that he can keep making bad decisions and Dad will bail him out. He's learned his lesson. I know he has. Has he? Because from where I'm sitting, he just learned that when things get bad enough, family will sacrifice everything to save him from consequences. That's not fair. It's completely fair. Dad, you've been enabling Daniel his entire life. Every time he fails, you rescue him. Every time he needs money, you provide it. Every time he makes a terrible decision, you find a way to blame external circumstances instead of holding him accountable. I'm his father. That's what fathers do. No, fathers teach, fathers guide, fathers let their children experience consequences so they learn to make better choices. What you do isn't fatherhood, it's codependency. Silence on the other end. Then, that's a harsh thing to say. It's a true thing to say, and if you sell your house to bail Daniel out one more time, you're not helping him, because eventually there won't be anyone left to rescue him. And when that happens, he won't know how to save himself. So what should I do? Just stand by and watch him suffer? Yes, watch him suffer. Watch him struggle. Watch him figure out how to fix his own problems. Be there emotionally, be there for support. But don't be there with money, don't be there with rescue plans. Let him face this. I don't know if I can do that. Then you're not helping him. You're just making yourself feel better while ensuring he never grows up. I hung up. Probably shouldn't have. Probably should have been gentler, more diplomatic, more understanding. But I was tired of gentle. I was tired of diplomatic. I was tired of watching my father enable my brother into oblivion. That evening, Daniel and I got dinner at a cheap Mexican place down the street from the motel. He was quiet, picking at his food, lost in thought. What are you thinking about? I asked. Everything. The loan, the divorce, the house. How I got here. He looked up. Do you think I can actually change? Or is this just who I am? I think people can change if they want to badly enough. But wanting isn't enough. You have to do the work. You have to make different choices every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. What if I fail? Then you fail. Then you get up and try again. That's how change works. It's not dramatic. It's not a movie moment. It's just consistent effort over time. Sounds exhausting. It is, but it's better than the alternative. We finished dinner in silence. Walked back to the motel. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Tomorrow's another 72-hour countdown day, Daniel said. Only 48 hours left, according to Torres. Ignore him. Lopez will handle it. What if he doesn't? What if Torres shows up with Reeves and things get violent? Then we call the police. Document everything. Let the legal system work. The legal system didn't stop me from selling your house. No, but it reversed the damage. Eventually, justice catches up. We just have to be patient. That night, I dreamed about the house. Not the destroyed version Daniel had created, but the original, the way it looked when I first bought it. Fresh paint, empty rooms full of possibility, Jessica walking through, making plans, talking about furniture placement and color schemes. I woke up at 4 a.m. with the distinct feeling that something was wrong. Couldn't place it, just a sense of unease, like waiting for the other shoe to drop. I got dressed and went outside. The parking lot was quiet. Daniel's room was dark. Everything seemed fine. But the feeling didn't go away.